everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to crochet this gorgeous Christmas cookie cowl. This is a fun and really fast project that you can stitch up with a special skein of yarn, and it is a nice little piece to wear for the holidays, but you can really make this in any colors that you like. We're going to be doing a very simple stitch. It's a favorite of mine, and it shows off the variegated yarn really beautifully. It's nice and simple, but it also has like a lacy kind of fancy feeling to it. Now our finished cowl measures about 6.5 inches wide across here, and then it has a circumference of about 42 inches all the way around. However, I'm going to give multiples at the beginning of our tutorial part so you can change the width if you like, and you can change the circumference by just working more rows of the pattern. We're going to be making a rectangle and then seaming it later, so it is very flexible in that sense as well. So let's get started. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle. We're going to be using a 4mm G crochet hook. This is my Furls Odyssey hook. I can put the link down below if you want to get one for yourself. And we are going to be using this really fun holiday yarn in the Jingle Bits colorway. This is from City Girl Country Girl Yarns, and you may recognize this from a giveaway we had not too long ago. This is a DK weight yarn. It's superwash merino and 230 yards. So you'll need some DK weight yarn, 230 yards of that. And this is a skein, just as a side note, so you'll have to wind this into either a cake or a ball before using it. If you try to use it this way, it'll get all tangly. So let's get started. One more thing I wanted to show you before we get started is that earlier in the video when I showed the supplies, I showed the skein of yarn. I have wound this into a cake of yarn using a ball winder and Swift, but you can wind it into a ball as well. But this is, you must wind, when you have skeins like that, you have to wind them up in order to work with them. So I have turned mine into a yarn cake. Okay, we are going to begin with a starting chain of 26. Now, if you need to change the width of your piece, if you want to make it narrower or much wider, just know that it's a multiple of 4 plus 2. If you're not familiar with multiples, just know when you're making your starting chain, you're going to go 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 and so forth, and then add 2 more chains onto that. So a multiple of 4 plus 2. So we're going to begin with a starting chain of 26. So to begin, wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind that loop, reach in with your hook, bring up a loop, and tighten onto the hook like that. Next, we're going to chain 26. So to make a chain, wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. So here's our starting chain. And as a side note, this yarn is kind of a fast color changing yarn, so you're going to see lots of fun things happening very quickly as far as the colors go. Okay, so let's begin with row 1. We're going to do a total of 3 rows, and then row 3 will be the row we repeat over and over for the rest of the piece. Okay, so you can kind of get an idea of the width here of the piece. But again, if you want to make yours wider or narrower, you know, just use the multiple that I gave earlier. Okay, so for row 1, we're going to work a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So this loop here does not count. So go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we'll work a double crochet into that 4th chain from the hook. So to make a double crochet, wrap the yarn around the hook, insert it into that 4th chain from the hook, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the next 2 loops. Then what we're going to do is work a double crochet into the next chain, just like that. And then in the next chain, we're going to work a double crochet, chain 3, double crochet. So go into that next chain and work a double crochet, then a chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then a double crochet, all in that same chain. Okay, just like that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to skip a chain, and then we're going to work a double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. So skip that chain, then work a double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. So double crochet, next chain, double crochet, just like that. And then what we're going to do is repeat this sequence across. So in the written pattern, you'll see a little star, and it'll say repeat from star to the end. Okay, so if you'd like to follow the written pattern, that's how it's written on there. Okay, so we're going to repeat the same sequence we just did. So we're going to go to this next chain, and we're going to work a double crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and a double crochet on that same chain. Then we're going to skip a chain and then work a double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. So skip that chain, then in the next chain work a double crochet, and in the next chain work a double crochet, just like that. Okay, then what we're going to do is in the next chain work our double crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and a double crochet, all in that same chain. Okay, then we're going to skip a chain, and then into each of the next 2 chains we'll work a double crochet. So skip that chain and then work a double crochet in the next chain and a double crochet in the next chain, and then in the next chain we're going to do what we did earlier, work a double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, and then a double crochet all in that same chain. Okay, skip a chain and then work a double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. So skip that chain, then work double crochet in the next chain, and a double crochet into the next chain. Then we're going to skip a chain and then work a double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. Okay, so skip that chain, then work a double crochet in the next chain, and a double crochet in the next chain. Okay, skip the next chain, then work a double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. So double crochet and a double crochet, and then you'll have 1 chain left at the end of row 1, and we're just going to work a double crochet into that last chain. Okay, so for row 2, what we're going to do is chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and turn our work. We'll worry about this tail later. And then what we're going to do is we're going to work, remember these chain 3s that we did? In the written pattern, I call them the chain 3 spaces. So in these chain 3 spaces is where we're going to be working the stitches for the rest of this project pretty much. So there won't be any more counting of chains. And so row 2 is super easy and row 3 is super easy, okay? So in this first chain 3 space that you come to, what we're going to do in that space is work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, then work a chain 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, and then in that same chain 3 space work 1 more double crochet, just like that. Okay, now hop over to the next chain 3 space and do the same thing. 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1 more double crochet into that chain 3 space. Okay, hop over to the next chain 3 space and work your 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1 more double crochet in that chain 3 space. Okay, we're starting to see some really pretty progress here. and it's showing off these holiday colors so beautifully. Go to the next chain 3 space and work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, then chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 more double crochet in that same chain 3 space, okay? Last chain 3 space, work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 more double crochet in that same space, okay? Now, to finish off the row, we're going to work 3 double crochets in the 3rd chain of the turning chain space. And all that means is go to the very end, you're going to skip over those last 3 double crochets of the row, and we have our turning chain space. Count 3 chains up, 1, 2, 3. Look for that 3rd topmost turning chain, turning chain, and work 3 double crochets in that turning chain. So locate it and work your 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. And row 2 is complete. So we have some really beautiful things happening here. Okay, our 3rd and final row is very, very similar to row 2, except for the very end of the row. So row 3 is also the row that you'll repeat for the rest of the project. All right, so for row 3, we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and turn our work. Then we're going to do the same thing we did in row 2. So in each one of these chain 3 spaces from the previous row, we're going to work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and work a double crochet in that same chain 3 space, just like that. Hop over to the next chain 3 space and work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and a double crochet in that same space. Hop over to the next one, do the same thing. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and work a double crochet in that same space. Okay, moving right along, hop over to that next chain 3 space, work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and a double crochet in the same space. All right, the last one of our row, and then we'll deal with the end here. Work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then work a double crochet in the same space. Okay, so that was very similar. But to finish the row, what we're going to do is work 3 double crochets in the 5th chain of the turning chain space, turning chain rather, not the space. So this row, you can see the turning chain is a little bit bigger than it was in row 2. This is how it will look for the rest of the project. So you're going to count. It might be a little fiddly, so you might have to like pull it apart to see everything really well, but you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So very at the top there, you're going to work 3 double crochets into that topmost chain, that 5th chain up, okay? So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and 3 double crochets to finish the row, okay? So to finish your project, and let me lay this down a little bit so you can see everything looking all pretty. To finish this project, we're just going to keep working row 3 over and over and over again until until either you run out of yarn, like I'm going to work this until my cake is gone, or you get it as long as you want it to be. Now this could be a scarf, it could be maybe like an infinity scarf if you want to do the ends, a cowl, what have you. I'm going to keep going and we're going to rejoin towards the end of this, and I'm going to show you how to finish everything up. Okay, just working that very last stitch of the row, and I've gone a ways to where I don't have quite enough to finish another row, and now we're ready to seam, but I do have enough to make a nice seam. So before you fasten off, go ahead and pull about 18 to 24 inches out. That will be more than enough to make a nice seam on our piece. And then what we're going to do now is go ahead and fasten off. Now, if you wanted to do 2 skeins of yarn, you could easily make this into a scarf if you wanted to, but we have a nice long strip that we're going to seam, and it'll make just a really pretty drapey cowl, okay? Okay, so we have our nice long tail that we'll use for seaming, and then down here at the other end, let's weave that in really quick. Now, when you're working with multicolor or variegated yarns, when you weave your ends in, you want to make sure you try the best you can to stay in the same color area, because your tail will show if you don't. So I have a red tail, and I'm just going to go in with my tapestry needle and just kind of stay in the red area as much as I can. If I start traveling through some of these other areas, it might show. So what we want to do is just try to stay in that red area with our red tail, or whatever color you have that you're working with your project. All right, grab your scissors and give it a little trim. Okay, so now what we want to do is seam. So what I'm going to do is just sort of lay things out like this. Now this stitch that we did is reversible, so you can pick your favorite side, but it's not that important which side you do it because it is reversible. And I didn't mention this before, but I worked my rows until my piece was about 42 inches long. And also we talked about the sizing at the beginning of the video, but just to let you know too that we have 42 inches here. Okay, so thread your tapestry needle once again. And then I find the easiest thing with these lacy patterns like this is to lay things nice and flat on a flat surface. And we have 2 very different looking ends. This was our starting chain, so it's very flat and things are very nice and lined up. This is the top, and because of the stitch and this chain here, it kind of comes out and sort of flares out a little bit more. So what you want to do is try to line things up the best you can. I like to kind of use these clusters of double crochets as my guide. So line up your first cluster with your first cluster here and do it that way, and just try to get things lined up the best you can. Okay, we're going to do a whip stitch, and we're just using our tail, so our yarn is already attached, and you're just going to line up the 2 corners and you're going to just whip stitch them together. So let me come in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing here, and we're just holding them together like a sandwich, and we're going to go in, and then we're going to come around like this and go into that layer, and then we're just going to do this all the way across. And I'm using these double crochet groupings of 3 to kind of guide me. So I line one up with one, and it just sort of helps me keep everything nice and lined up. Okay, so you just want to do this all the way across, and you want to go nice and slow. Things like this project that are lacy and use multiple colors of yarn, you would just want to take your time. Now you can see my whip stitch a little bit here. We're going to turn this right side out. This will now be the inside, okay? So when you turn it right side out, it's a little bit less noticeable, okay? And because of the variegated yarn, it will blend. If you did a solid color, you want to use the same color as your project when you seam it together, okay? So just whip stitching this all the way across. And I'm going to keep going with mine, and we'll rejoin in just a minute and we'll finish up our cowl. All right, just coming up to the end here. We want to get those corners nice and neat as well. Now sometimes when you're seaming and you have 2 pieces together like this, I like to come a little bit around the edge here, just because if I come to just the end, you see like a little dip in your piece. So I like to just come around and do one more little stitch. Now pull it almost all the way through and leave yourself a loop. That way you can take your needle through and tie it in a nice knot. Then what you'll want to do is weave in your end. Okay, so we have a nice little stitch here, and then we're going to just take our end through here the best we can. Now my tail up a ways is like a speckly red, so I'm going to try and take it through this reddish, pinkish, whitish area here. Weave that in this way, come back in the other direction to help lock that tail into place. And then we can trim with our scissors. And our cowl is complete. So let's turn it right side out. Our seam looks very nice. I'm going to zoom out. Our seam looks nice and neat. And our cowl is complete. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and that is how you crochet the Christmas Cookie Cowl. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again!